In today's show, we have another of our popular Dynamite Conspiracies episodes where we discuss, do these historical sightings actually prove the existence of UFOs?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague Taya Boya. Taya, hello my friend once again. I hope you keep it safe and well.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Hello, audience. Hello to our. Don't do that. Hello to our audience in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay, why
I
why
never.
you picked on
I'm
that?
just picking them up at random now,
Okay,
and so just we do have listeners in Tucson, Arizona. When I was
okay.
a young boy, I always thought it was two stones for some funny reason. It took me I was quite an old man when I found out it was, oh, Tucson. Anyway, the fact for today is one that I think Tony is going to enjoy. I know I was laughing when I came across it.
Okay.
This harks back to one of our earlier
He's
episodes
laughing already and he even said it.
when Tony made a suggestion about
I'm intrigued now.
how the government should pay people to walk around smiling, which I found extremely risible at the time. So, today's fact, although smiling is technically mandatory in where? Italy, Milan. The law, called the Milanese Public Decency Act, dates back to the 19th century and requires citizens to smile in public at all times,
Wow.
except during funerals or hospital visits. However, it is no longer enforced, and for Tayo says, thank goodness.
Bring it back. Bring it
Otherwise, I'd
back.
never be able to go to Milan. And here is a link, and you can check it out yourself.
Okay.
It's amazing. Yes, it's there. It's an actual.
Wow.
It was never repealed, the law.
Okay. I like that law.
So
They
that
need
that
to bring
explains
that
where
back.
you got it from. I suppose subconsciously it was there. No, we just have to walk around smiling. So oh, you loony man, what the hell's your problem?
Clearly, they must have thought there was benefit for even putting it into law. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like that factoid, so we're good with that one.
Okay.
Right, okay, on with today's show. And we've got another of our popular Dynamite Conspiracies episodes. And today we're going to discuss, do these historical sightings prove UFOs? Now, I love this topic, so I'm glad you actually brought it up. So, what drew you to this particular topic?
I came across a video which must have something to do with my friendship with you, I think, because we keep talking about UFOs and whatnot, and everything is spying on us nowadays. And they think I'm actually interested in UFO, and I'm actually not. It's like, what the
I
hell is
am,
this?
I am. Yeah.
I know. So this video popped up, and it was intriguing because the guy in the video said what he likes about the experiences that he was speaking about. I'm so sorry. I just realized you never changed my name back to Ty. You just got me down as Mr. Boyer. Anyway, for those who are not not watching the video, when listening to the podcast, he's got my Zoom thing on my school name, Mr. Boyer. Anyway, back where was I? So the guy said in the video, he said what intrigues him is that these were pre-flight technology, right? Before humans started flying. So the people who were witnessing these things, they didn't even have the language like we do today to say, oh yeah, unidentified flying object, blah blah blah, or UAP, or what is what unidentified area phenomenon. They didn't have the language. They had to make it up as they went along because they're trying to explain something that they were experiencing, and that made it more powerful. Because if you think about it, yes, they're not it's not because they've read something in a newspaper somewhere. It's a brand new experience. And I thought, I know who would be interested in this.
Me.
Yeah. So I brought it along.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, pre-flight, it's very important. You're right. A lot of them didn't know how to describe what they were seeing.
Mm.
And I have looked at some of these and they're very interesting. I mean, some date back quite a long time. I mean, there was one that was particularly mentioned from 1717 in Martinique in the Caribbean, where a captain of a ship
Oh.
claimed to have seen a rod. That's how he described it.
Mm.
Similar to the mast of a ship above the water, not touching the water, but alongside the ship.
Hmm.
And he was like perplexed. What is this thing? A rod. That's how he described it, but clear of the water, and they were on the sea. So that's an interesting one,
What I
which
love
is
about it is that he used the word rod and described it as the mast of a ship.
yes,
But in modern parlance, those of us who are somewhat familiar with UFO language, so to speak, or vocabulary, it's probably better, would describe that, well, would be expecting to hear, guess what? Cigar shaped, cylindrical. That's exactly what we'd expect to hear. But he was using it in the language of his time,
which made it more
which to me makes
credible,
it stand out because I go, oh, I know what he's talking about, but he's not talking about it in our modern vocabulary.
which made sense. Yes, to them, that's what they thought it was.
Yeah.
There was another one which was interesting in 1825, August
Hmm.
12th, 1825. This was on the British vessel HMS Glonde. Glonde or Glonde, I can't pronounce that. And this British vessel was returning from Hawaii. And they were going down the Pacific towards Chile. And this is particularly to the Cook Islands, which were British islands. And this was very early in the morning, 3:30 to be exact. And on board the vessel was someone called Andrew Bloxham, and he wasn't part of the crew. He was on this vessel for whatever reason. And while he was on the vessel, they were woken up by the watch of the ship. And he reported some, circular object rising out of the water. And they described it as a red cannonball or cannon shot description, but it was incredibly bright. And because it was in the middle of the night, effectively 3:30 a.m., it was dark. The light that was emitted from this round sphere was so bright that they even said they could see everything on the deck of the ship in order to even pick up the pins off the floor. That's how much light was being emitted by this object. And then once again, the object dropped below the waterline so they could see it under the water. And then it shortly came back again above the waterline and then went back down again, never to be seen again. So fascinating what this thing was, emitting so much light, orangey red, like the sun, I suppose, but a muted sun, but also producing enough light to make it look, that the people could see the ship so clearly. It is
All
incredible.
sorts of interesting things about that. Number one, that Bloxham fellow that you mentioned, was that his name? Bloxham or
Andrew Bloxham, yes.
Bloxham? Yes, well, Bloxham, I think would
Bloxham,
probably be how it's pronounced.
yes.
He wasn't just any old body. This was the day and age when Britain used to send out naturalists with their ships so that they could document things because there were still quite a lot of sort of discovery phase of what's in the world and what's going on and all that sort of thing. So he was a trained naturalist, which is our equivalent, I suppose, today of a modern scientist, so to speak. The broad spectrum of science behind him, and observing things would have been his job. So he was actually doing his job and he was making a report about this object. That's as close as we're going to get to a professional witness. So not someone who can just easily write off and think, too much rum and still got a bit of a headache and everything. No, I mean,
Yeah.
this is someone whose observations, if you like, matter.
Mm.
So that's peculiar. But do you sometimes get, are you familiar with The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Only from many, many years ago, having
Do you remember?
watched
Do you
it.
remember? There's a spot about UFOs, I believe, being alien teenagers just buzzing the earth and just messing around with the locals because it appeared, then it disappeared, then it
Yeah.
appeared, then it disappeared. It's like, look, dude, someone's messing around here. Okay,
What's
someone's
it
having an
doing?
actual laugh. They're going to be talking about this for years.
Yeah.
Right? Something I would have wanted to know, and because I haven't read Bloxham's report, what I'd like to know is what happened when it went into the water. If it's emitting light, was it warm? Did it sizzle? Did it cause steam? Did it just quietly enter the water? If it quietly entered the water, that's interesting because that means it was emitting that amount of light, apparently without warmth, without heat, which in itself is, it crosses out a lot of natural phenomena.
Yes. Yeah.
So
But
I wish he
even
had said
natural, how
something.
could we? I mean, what could it be
Well,
natural
let me
above the
just go
water?
crazy. I've just decided
Okay.
this episode, I'm gonna just go. I'm just gonna offer way out there
Well,
explanations.
we can because we have no real
Exactly.
conclusions here. So
So
yeah.
it was a mound of lava, a ball of lava, and it was being pushed up because some kind of gas escaping from the vent that created it was
Under the
pushing
water, yeah.
it up. So it was venting, it got pushed up, it emitted its light and everything. The vents closed a bit or ran out of gas back into the water, and then it got pushed up again. So a lot of my interest is in what were the actual water conditions. But this Bloxham fellow, I mean, really allows him. He's dead now. I don't want to slander the man. Okay, I'm not going to go that far. But I wish Bloxham had spoken more about that interface between the object and water because that's really important.
You would have thought, though, you would have thought that if if it had been hot, they would have made mention of steam and or gases
Hmm.
coming
Hmm.
from it. But it wasn't described in that manner. It was described just as incredibly bright and lit up everything on the deck of the ship. So there was no mention at all of gases, vapor, heat. You'd have thought that those would be fairly significant had they been present, because yes, it's very bright, but if it was hot, that would be something you would mention, especially if he was a common day equivalent of as close as we describe a scientist. He would have made mention of that. So the fact
We
he
expect
didn't,
him. We expect he would
yeah,
have.
but the fact that he didn't would tend to say there wasn't any.
I'm
So,
not comfortable. I'm uncomfortable with that. I mean, I do understand Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's points about the dog that didn't bark. I do understand the point, but I think we can easily let that become a logical fallacy, if you like.
well, you're
So
trying to fit it into our logical understanding, but this
all I'll
may
say
be
is,
one that isn't.
by the way, I haven't read his report. Maybe it's in there. Have you read his report?
No, I haven't.
Well, there
No.
we go. So from that point of view, it's just something that maybe someone somewhere ought to mention. Do your research, folks. Do your research.
I've got another one which is okay, it's more recent, so it could have been attributed to maybe more worldly things. But
Mm.
what this is actually from the USS John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier. And this was in 1971, July the 2nd, near Puerto Rico. Now, there was somebody on the vessel called James Coft, and he was responsible for communications on the ship. And he reported suddenly all communication was garbled.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He couldn't understand what was going with the communication, both incoming and outgoing. It was all garbled. Then he hears someone screaming on the intercom, "It's God. It's the end of the world." Now he's like, what is going on here? And he sees a glowing orange sphere hovering near the JFK carrier,
May I
which it,
interrupt you for a second?
yeah,
So whoever screamed "It's God is the end of the world" thinks that God is a glowing orange sphere.
well,
You know, when I say that Americans are a somewhat excitable lot, and I'm sure our friend or friends in Tucson, Arizona, will agree with me that could be from anyone's point of view. That's a little excitable, isn't it?
well,
It's something, but God, I think I
no,
expect God to be
I,
just a little bit sort of more.
I think he misheard. I think he misheard. I
What do you think
think
you
he,
heard?
instead of it's God, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Because remember, it was on the intercom. All he heard was a screaming, and he may have maybe heard, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world." Because
And
you've
the
now,
world, America always thinks that everything that concerns them is the world. It's an orange glow, and if it's going to take out your aircraft carrier, it's just your aircraft carrier. The rest of the world's going to be fine. Don't sweat it, man. Sweat it for yourself. Don't worry about the rest of the world. We'll
oh,
be fine.
I'm not sure about that.
Now, if it's a glowing, huge orange thing way all over the sky into the distance as far as you can see,
Then you've got
then you've
cause to
got to cause
say,
the, oh, is this it for
yeah,
everyone?
for
But it's
everybody.
just you, man. Come on. Crikey.
Although, let's say similarity of this story, I mean, James Koff reported they see a glowing orange sphere
Mm.
hovering near the JFK aircraft carrier, and it emits half the intensity of sunlight. So half as bright as the sun itself.
Mm.
And some of the crew on the ship were so shocked by what they saw, they had to be later sedated because it just, went beyond their comprehension. They couldn't deal with what they saw.
Can you imagine how much medication it would have taken to sedate half the crew?
I know.
And the mere fact
Well, I
that the
didn't say half the
ship's
crew, some of the crew.
oh sorry, some of the crew.
Some
And
of
the
the crew.
mere fact that the ship, though it's a big ship, an aircraft carrier, that its medical room had that amount of sedation at hand, she makes you what what the heck? What the heck goes on?
I mean, I suppose they do have to have a fair amount in case of epidemics or something that hits the crew. So they do have a
Yeah,
fully
to
equipped
sedate people though.
medical.
I mean
I
to
know, to
to
sedate people, I don't know.
that's a bit, I mean, that was before they even had chicks on board, right? So what the hell were you doing all this? What the hell were you
Well,
doing?
think about it. Think about it logically. Sedation is actually a really good tool because if somebody's been injured, let's say, for instance, the ship had been attacked by a foreign enemy and a number of casualties occurred, they've got to deal with that. And and I do believe they are equipped to deal with a number of casualties.
Of
And
course.
sedation is a good way of numbing the pain if people get, burn or shrapnel wounds or explosive. Do you see what I mean? A
Mm.
ship is more likely to be bombed, and that causes big damage. So a lot of these big ships, especially aircraft carriers, they're
Do you really
huge.
want to evacuate 300 people who are heavily sedated though? I mean,
No,
you don't.
it would be tough. It would be
Exactly.
tough.
So anyway, I think we're going to straight off a bit. So what I'm interested in is this. You said Peru
No, Puerto Rico.
or Puerto
It
Rico.
was it was near Puerto Rico, which is an American
Yeah, no. Where is
outpost.
Puerto Rico again?
Puerto Rico is
It's on the other side. It's on the flip side, isn't it? It's
no,
on
no, no, no.
Caribbean,
Puerto
isn't it?
Rico is in the Caribbean. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But the
So
British ship was on
the other
the
side, the
Pacific
Pacific
side.
side. Yes,
No, okay.
exactly. So
Otherwise,
totally
that'd be
different
really
areas.
interesting. Had it been the same sort of side and the
Oh
same
yeah.
orangey glowing thing, that would have been, interesting.
Hmm. But the
Yeah,
fact that they saw a similar thing in a completely different part of the
sure.
globe is interesting. And to go on what they saw, they only saw this watching this sphere hovering for a few moments, and They then were called to battle stations, so
Yeah.
they couldn't observe it further. They had to, go back to their posts because battle stations means get back to your positions ready for battle. Whether it was to do with this sphere or not, that is still not clear from the report. But during the time, communications were down for 25 minutes whilst this sphere was in the vicinity. Also, the F-4 aircraft, which were on board the plane, could not fly, and neither could any of the weapons operate for that duration. Now, we don't know
That sounds
how,
a bit suspect, doesn't it?
well, we don't know how it ended, where the sphere went, or how long after 25 minutes did things return to normal. We don't have that information, but we do have records to show that this actually occurred. Well, something occurred
Mm.
where the planes couldn't take off for what technical reasons were cited. Weapons couldn't operate. Don't know about corroboration for that, but
Mm.
certainly communications were down, and it was at the time this sphere was observed. So something's going on here. Clearly, the military, the Navy in particular, not releasing all the information. But those back then who reported this certainly reported something incredibly strange.
You see? Man, I'm going to sneeze.
And bless you before you sneeze. There you go.
I think, okay, I'm not familiar. I'm not au fait. I'm no expert at all the weapons on the John F. Kennedy aircraft, did you say?
Aircraft
Aircraft carrier?
carrier, yeah, yeah.
I'm not familiar with the weapons. Why would I be? But I'd imagine that some of them are mechanical. I mean, rifles and pistols and things. These are mechanical, they're not electronic. So why wouldn't they work?
Why would you make the assumption that only weapons
Well,
that
because
are
mechanical is just it is that's because it's mechanical. You know, 1 + 1 is equal to 2. I press that, that produces pressure. The pressure brings back the hammer. When I release it, chemical.
what if you can't produce the pressure?
What if I can't? Then that's me. I can't produce the pressure,
Yeah.
so it's affecting me. So that's not weapons working. That's me not working now.
Okay.
So, well, yeah, but
Which
he
then
didn't say
makes the
that.
weapon. No, I know, but
So
the
he's saying
weapons
weapons
would
didn't
not
work, as if
operate.
when I'm saying weapons didn't operate. But that's like really, I find that very, very hard to believe. Because
Well,
what sort
we
of system would interdict mechanical weapons? Now,
well,
electronic weapons, yeah, you close down the electronics, it stops working. I can get that. But
yeah,
a
but you're
mechanical one,
using a limited. You're again putting it down to our reasoning. Maybe whatever this thing was.
still got to be physics, man. It can't be
Well,
magic.
wait, how do you know?
What do you mean? How do I know? There's no such thing as magic.
Well,
Magic
how
is.
do you know?
How do
How
I
do
know there's
you
no
know
such thing as
what?
magic?
Well, what do you know? What's happening? I mean, digression here slightly. What the heck's going on with you know, particles and subparticles and things
No,
like
that's
that?
easy. The scientists don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah, but
No,
that's weird behavior. You could say magic. You could refer to that as magic. We don't understand what that is. And the same here by saying, "Oh, this could never happen because it's a physical thing." That's that's nonsense, surely.
well, it's not
Because
really nonsense because if you're saying it's nonsense, give me an example. I've told you why I think it works. Pressure is from my finger. My finger can produce pressure. You can stop me from producing the pressure, but that requires you to explain, or not even explain. That requires some kind of explanation of why some object far away can mess with my biology such that I can't squeeze my fingers, but my autonomous nervous system, i.e., my heart and my breathing, are fine. Even my
okay,
brain.
if you explain how does anesthetic work on the body, it
Mm-hmm.
does exactly that.
Does exactly
It can stop your body. It can even do all sorts of things to your body.
okay, but
Ketamine, for
it does that
instance.
through chemical a
Yeah.
chemical process,
So what
actual
you're
my
saying,
biology.
you've got just open mind a little bit. Technology based
No,
on
no, no. Look, you're trying to sway me into arguing and defending some blooming thing that you introduced. I didn't introduce this thing about my finger. I said it's mechanical. The gun it cocks. The hammer comes out. It hits the shell. The shell hits the shell. Sparks a chemical reaction. Pressure. Blah blah blah. It's all mechanical, right?
Okay.
So how are you going to stop the chemistry? How are you going? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
This is what I'm
you're
trying to
using
say.
our knowledge base.
Yeah, I'm
You've
using
got to open your
logical
mind to
common
think,
sense.
could that be hampered by some other means that we are just not familiar with? You see
I
what I
mean,
mean?
in
It's
the
just
bounds of the
in the
outer
bounds of
limits type of
our limited knowledge base.
1954 space
Well, we're talking,
science fiction.
yeah, but we're talking about potential of, I mean, we haven't said it, but these could be beings that have been around far longer than us, with intelligence far beyond what we can understand. And they may have mastered this stuff that you and I are discussing and thinking, it's not possible within our limits. But they must think, yeah, a 5-year-old could stop all those primitive weapons.
All I say is this: theoretically, as an absolute, yes, it is theoretically and absolutely possible. I mean, don't ask me how, but
Yeah,
what you're saying is we don't have to know how, but it's theoretically possible, but not through any technological means that we would understand. So
indeed.
I can't obviously say there's no such thing as a unicorn because you can't prove a negative. So I can't prove that they couldn't do it. But
The
I'm not
only
going to
thing we
accept it.
can, the only thing we have as evidence was that they reported the weapons would not operate. That's the only fact we have.
This
So
man
as
reported. I don't
this
know it's
man
a they.
reported, the weapons would not operate. Now, if the F4 aircraft would not fly and the weapons would not operate, something fishy's going on, because clearly they couldn't all have developed the fault, or mechanically they are no longer working. We even had this conversation regarding a topic similar to this, where there was on the nuclear bunkers. Do you remember this one
Yeah,
in the US?
that was a better documented one.
That was a better documented one. But what I'm trying to do is liken it to what we're seeing here. This one we can't explain either, but the equipment was clearly not functioning. That was reported. So we know that was reported. It wasn't functioning during this 25-minute window of when this craft or whatever it was witnessed. So if it wasn't working, the aircraft wasn't working, the weapons wouldn't operate. They weren't necessarily electronic weaponry, we don't know. But if they weren't they were only mechanical, then this craft, whatever it was, has interfered in some way. And when we spoke about the nuclear bunkers, that UFO that was reported around those bunkers switched all of those intercontinental ballistic missiles off, which was deemed impossible because they were all separately powered by
Mm.
different sources, but they all were switched off, so they couldn't be fired. So clearly, these craft, if this is one of them, possess some technology that is far beyond what we know, and they are able to stop our weapons in their tracks. So it is interesting, but we can make conclusions from that. But all we have, as we've already said, the weapons would not operate. That was documented. So it,
It actually says the caused electronic malfunctions, which is something I'm prepared to accept. I mean, I'm not arguing against that because we've already heard from various sources about these phenomena, UFOs, often causing problems with our, let's say, humans, nuclear weaponry. So you mentioned one in a well-known one in America. Are you aware that the Russians more or less take it as read that when these UFOs show up, their nukes aren't going to work?
yeah,
It's happened so often that they're like, blooming UFOs are back. Can
yeah,
you imagine?
I know. That's
Astonishing.
madness, isn't it? That shows to me, just by that attitude of them being aware of it, they know it's something must be off-worldly or of an intelligence far greater than ours, because they've almost resigned to accepting that that is what happens, which is incredible. Incredible.
I've sent you a link, by the way, so our audience can go through the link and read it for
Oh, the
themselves about,
USS Kennedy incident. Yeah.
yes, Jim
Okay.
Kopf, what's his name?
Yeah, we'll share that.
Yeah,
We'll
it
share
could
that.
be, it doesn't have to be an alien intelligence, It just could be some novel form of particle that escapes from, let's say, the sun every so often. And Russia being where it's situated, close to the North Pole, etc., they're just getting more often than other places on the planet. So let's not go bonkers yet. I mean,
No,
we've got
exactly.
to follow the sport. That's all. We just follow the evidence.
It's strange. Yeah,
It is
the
strange.
conclusion
Notable.
is what we can't
Mm,
pitch, but the actual thing that's happening we can identify, but what causes that we don't know. We haven't got the intelligence yet to work it out. So very interesting.
it is.
Okay, another
Uh,
one.
really?
Do you
Okay.
do you have another one? Because I
Yeah,
have
I
one
got
here.
three.
Okay, do you want to do one of yours?
You started by saying you had an ancient one, and you mentioned something
1767.
1767. I mean, this is just very recent child's play, isn't it, compared to the things that I've come up with? I've come up with one from 1235.
Oh, go on. I'm intrigued.
It's called the Kyoto Lights Incident.
Kyoto Lights incident.
Yes,
Okay.
in Japan, Kyoto Lights Incident,
In 1263.
1235.
1235. And they kept records that far back that
Yes.
were
Well, the
okay.
Japanese are quite organized, aren't they? Yes.
Okay. So
1235. And like
what
I said,
happened?
it's called the Kyoto Lights Incident by me, by the way. It's called that by me.
Oh, okay.
Nobody else calls it Kyoto Lights Incident. What I call it that.
Go on.
And here it is. Samurai soldiers witnessed lights zigzagging in the sky and they panicked.
As
So
they would, because they didn't know anything about
they
flying.
didn't, this is why I like it so much, because they had no idea what was going on. And they were on the battlefield prepping for war, as samurai soldiers are wont to do. So they got a bit sort of upset, if you like, and went off to the emperor and said, "Oi, there are these blooming lights in the sky," and so on and so forth. This was September 24th. So we are amazing. September 24th, 1235.
What's the Gregorian calendar? Is this
No,
what
it's been
calendar is this?
translated into the Gregorian
Oh,
calendar.
okay.
What's the equivalent?
Okay.
And who were the witnesses? Not just the oinks who were, cannon fodder, and well, they didn't have cannons, but you know what I mean. The oinks, but General Yoritsume himself, the leading the troop. They saw mysterious lights moving in loops and zigzags in the night sky. An advisor said it was the wind making the stars sway. But the troops didn't believe him because the motion was erratic and unlike known stars or comets that they had ever seen before. That's why they took it to the emperor and said, "Oi, what's going on? You're the big cheese." So that happened, and it was written down, and it was witnessed not just by one person, but by basically the general and his army.
Wow. Okay. And this was documented back
In
then, but
the
didn't know? Did they know about language to write it down? I mean,
oh,
writing
excuse me, in the Japanese
in
in
what year was this?
1235.
Right, 1235. Yeah, okay, they would have done.
Oh, good
Yeah,
grief! Yeah,
yeah.
I mean they
Okay,
kept
so
records. This went to the what do you call it now? The archives in the emperor's archives.
okay.
But
Uh,
what I like about it is that we've heard similar things. In fact, we've not only heard, we've seen videos of lights doing exactly what they're discussing.
mm,
The ones across, was it Phoenix, the Phoenix lights, Phoenix,
yes.
Arizona? And that, we've actually seen those with our
Well,
eyes,
recorded with cameras, haven't we?
recorded with
Yeah.
cameras, but we
Yeah.
then, saw it. So very similar sort of thing. And that's why I'm interested in it, because there is a connection between what we understand today and what they witnessed back then. Just like your case in the Martinique, where the captain said it was like a ship's mast,
Yes.
cylindrical, which we understand today as being cigar shaped and cylinder like.
Yeah.
So I that's why I like it, because it hops back to our own experience.
Hmm. Because there was one incident in 1767 which intrigued me initially, and it was near Cooper Angus and Blair Gowrie. And apparently, the incident was recorded in the Perthshire Parish records and can be checked online.
Mm-hmm.
So, in short, a flying black pyramid struck a building, partially
Uh-huh.
destroying it.
Racism. All the other ones that aren't black, they fly around, they crash, but they never strike building. But this first black one, is destroying stuff. Racist.
Well, the claim is this flying black pyramid struck a building, partially destroying it, and then the bridge over the river, it came into contact with it, destroying it completely.
Mm.
And then it was seen to leave the location flying at a reduced speed and height.
It hurt itself.
Now, I did quite a bit of digging on this one because this was quite an interesting one. And I was first intrigued because obviously this is documented in apparently in the parish there, and it was even the newspapers, the Herald, actually said yes, it was placed in the records. So you've got two separate things corroborating this incident. However, however, the wording doesn't match their time frame, because had it been described by then, they wouldn't refer to it as a pyramid. It could have
Mm.
been a fiery dragon, dark clouds, cylindrical things.
What
But
year was this again?
1767.
No, 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 no. I don't agree with you, because by then, I mean, when did Napoleon go and start shooting the nose off the Sphinx? So they would have known about the pyramids of Egypt,
Who's they?
the people who wrote about it.
Mm, not necessarily.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it
I
wouldn't
was,
be, you wouldn't have been news. They would have known. They'd have known about the pyramids at Gizeh from Roman times, for God's sakes.
yeah, still not the time, not the sort of thing that they would have used to describe
Who, who,
stuff.
who, who are you speaking of?
I'm talking about the people in that age, in that bracket. They
In
don't
17, whatever you call it.
17, 1767, middle of that century. You're talking nearly 300 years. So that's a
And
long
where
time.
again?
Scotland near Cooper
Ah,
Angus and Blair
Scotland.
Gowrie.
Scotland.
It's not necessarily in the biggest communities.
Iron brew made
Perthshire.
in Scotland by Girters. Yeah, the sort of pyramid man. It was a pyramid man. They are the engineers of the British Isles, though.
The language aligns more with modern.
Yes. Yeah,
This is
well,
what's
yes,
making
yes.
me think
Pyramids.
yeah. Also, the old parish records. I actually did some digging
Mm-hmm.
about the records to see whether or not there actually were there. Even though the Herald newspaper purported that it was there,
Mm.
I couldn't find it. Couldn't find any reference to anything along those lines. So it looks like the Herald reported the same story
Mm.
without it actually
Not
being
even checking. Can you
recorded.
imagine?
Yeah, well, it happens now. There's no mention of any shape, anything, and there's no evidence of any bridge actually collapsing either, which was part of the story. So, even though the newspaper said that it was there, the even the Caledonian Mercury was cited as having reported it was there. But when you search out the archives of the Caledonian Mercury, which is an Edinburgh newspaper, there's no reports matching that incident there either. So that's two different sources claiming that they were attributed with mentioning this particular one, but there doesn't seem to be anything about it at all. So it's likely to be a myth, a story,
Yes.
folklore, because there doesn't seem to be anything linked to it. There could be confusion because the Tay Bridge in 1879 was destroyed, but that was just from accidents where um, something happened to the bridge. So it's not far removed. So this story could have been mixed up because it's retold, and
Mm.
they concluded that the bridge fell when it was a different bridge a few years later, and they've married the two. So, yeah, interesting story, uh, but there's
AI
no claim.
AI thinks that a Scots person of that period would have used the word, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, Cairns, I know. Cairns.
Cairns,
Cairns, is that it?
Cairns, Cain-A-N-S,
Very complicated word
Cairns, yeah.
to try to pronounce.
Mm,
Yes, because that is what they buried one of their kings in a pyramidical shape. And they'd have, here we go. Cairns, you're right, by the way. Cairns.
yeah,
Cairns. Well, that's American. Hang on. British. What? Cairns? Okay.
yeah.
Anyway, so no, yeah, I think you're right. I think you hit on something there. I'd like to poo-poo that
Mm,
particular one.
yeah,
Here's
yeah,
an
yeah.
interesting one for
Go
you.
on.
In 1897, Alexander Hamilton, not the founding father Alexander Hamilton, his son, witnessed the following. Alexander Hamilton, the son, and his farm hands witnessed what they claimed was a now cigar shaped craft. I'm not sure they said cigar shaped craft. I think they said, what do you call it now? An airship
Okay.
with bright lights from emitted from windows appearing over the cattle pen. A cow was then lifted by a red cable or rope into the craft and taken away. Now, the thing is that Hamilton was a member at the time, a member of the Kansas House of Representatives. And he and his farmhands went to the court and swore an affidavit that what they had written, that they really had witnessed this.
Wow.
And that's what swayed me is the affidavit thing.
Mm.
Because back in those days, 1897, people were not in the habit of going and making frivolous
No,
oaths.
no, no, no.
And not a member of the House of Representatives, not the son of someone who was so well respected. That would have tarnished his family no end.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
yes, very interesting. So I
That
did
one's
some digging around. It's
believable.
like, well, when
Yeah.
were there airships and whatnot? And then I remember you and I have discussed this before. There was a spate of sightings in the late 1800s. There was an entire spate of sightings of these peculiar crafts all over America. It became quite a thing, and lots of newspaper reports over them, and no one ever got to the bottom of it.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
remember
we
we
did.
spoke
Yeah,
about
we
this
did speak about it. Yes, we did.
in one of our many UFO shows? So
They're
this could
popular.
have tied into that,
Yeah.
and again, it's like, what the heck is going on? But now, I do have to say that from my point of view, I spent some time laughing about this because I just thought to myself, when when aliens when aliens show up and start making off with your cows, you really do have to ask yourself, is this an intergalactic DoorDash or something? It's like, what's the heck is, I leave money, man. This is theft. It's actual theft. You can't, I mean,
Uh,
you're not in the wilds. You're not picking up wild animals. So where's the blooming farmland? You think the
well,
farmland just kind of blooming happened? You're supposed to be an intelligent being.
yeah,
And
but we do it. We
if
do it
you've traveled across the
now.
blooming universe to get here, a rope?
No,
I
it
mean,
can't be. That's the description. It could have been a ray of light or some sort that
no, he did say a rope or
a
cable,
red rope.
a red rope or
Yeah,
cable.
that to me sounds more like a beam of light,
How
possibly.
can a
But
red
his
rope sound like a
description,
beam of
no,
light?
because
Light.
the description is how he described it, a red rope. It could have been a red light. Do you see what I mean? So back then they didn't know what a beam of light was. Not really. So they would have had to describe it in the terms that they understood, which was rope.
Mm.
So,
I find that very suspicious, to be honest.
mm,
But there we go.
I mean, I've
Uh,
go on. I've got one. I've got one.
yeah, go on.
This one's not that old though. This is 1977, so it's quite modern, really, in compared to the other ones we've discussed. However, this one is it's got the evidence is incredible. Where this was Colares in Brazil in 1977. Hundreds of residents reported being attacked by light beams from UFOs. Now, these light beams caused radiation burns and puncture wounds. And there was many medical records of burn victims who had reported this these strange craft that were almost didn't shoot down, but were emitting these light beams that burnt them. And the army even confirmed this. The Brazilian Air Force, excuse me, went there and confirmed the radiation burns and
Mm.
soil and plant damage in Colares, Brazil. And so there was evidence of medical burns to many, many victims who were really frightened about what was going on. And also the Air Force went in and found radiation burns and soil and plant damage. So it's hard to refute this one. We don't know what it
I don't think
is.
we have to. I mean, once you start hearing about large scale experiments on brown skinned people, you 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 just automatically look towards the CIA and the Americans. I mean, duh, Brazil, just hove down there with one of your new gizmos, and it's okay. They're all the brown people. Well, nothing's going to happen. And then you shoot off your beams at them, and you take your recordings, and then you
Mm,
go back to Area 51. Yeah,
mm.
I'll put this one down to humans.
It's quite possible. We don't know what. I mean, we're not saying it's UFOs at this point.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's
No,
Americans.
yeah, but good. But the proof in the pudding is that the thing actually happened because government documents prove the military were involved.
That's
There was
why I think
over
it's the Americans.
2,000 witness testimonies,
Yep.
and there's physical injuries match directed energy effects. So it was
Look,
energy
I love
causing
our
the
American
burning.
audience, so I think they know I'm not being snarky or anything. But even if it wasn't the Americans, it was the Americans. You know what I mean?
You don't
Huh?
know, but
I don't
okay.
know, but
No,
it
but
is. It was the Americans. Let's be
they
honest.
they they
You
they
got the
are
fingerprints all over this man. It's
they yeah, you could actually put this to human endeavors. Yeah. It is strange that the lights in the sky at that time because they didn't identify them as craft that they would recognize. They were
mm,
flying objects that they didn't recognize, and the beams were causing radiation burns. And this was over a number of nights. It wasn't all one night and then disappeared. They came back again over several
mm.
nights. This is what was really strange. So, what was going on here? Clearly an incident, but who's it attributable to?
I think we
Very
know.
interesting.
My
Okay.
last one,
Okay.
1801,
Mm.
Hull, UK. Hooray!
Oh,
Back
okay.
home. So the locals saw an object that was moon-like, like a full moon, someone said, but with disco lights. This was in 1801. So I
Disco
don't
light.
know
How can they describe it
disco.
as
I don't know.
disco lights?
No, I'm making fun. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
There were two sections, by the way.
Okay.
One section was the serious one, and then one section was where I was going to make fun of you once you piped up.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I started off with her. I started off with the wrong way. I kind of let my hand go there. Showed my hand. Sorry, this was June 1801.
Okay.
Location: Hull, East Yorkshire, England.
Okay.
Dozens of townspeople reported in the Hull Packet newspaper. What happened? At around 9:45 p.m., witnesses saw a large glowing object like a full moon hovering in the sky. It changed shape, emitted multicolored lights, hence the disco lights I was going to poke fun of you with, emitted multicolored lights and moved in ways inconsistent with stars, meteors, or known phenomena. The observers, and this newspaper report in the Hull Packet, the observers used 19th century language to describe an aerial anomaly they couldn't explain. Terms like fiery globe, body of light, and moon with colors. They did not attempt to frame it as religious or apocalyptic. It was just something strange that had been witnessed by many people. And what I like about it, there were no crashes, no beam, they didn't fall to the ground, didn't, crash into a bridge, no prophecy, just the encounter. Just, oi, what the heck is that up there? A lot of people saw it, reported it, boom. I think it's pretty powerful.
Hmm. That is a good one. It is a
Yeah.
good one. Um,
Oh, I did say, let me see where I said it for you. I did say, let me see, yeah, that the way it hovered and changed colors and moved erratically, it really called to my soul. It really called to something deep in me because straight away I thought of Tony at an office Christmas party. Like a full moon, but with disco lights. Heaving in and out of you, little patter patter of feet, and then he's just there, and he's off again. It's like, yeah. So
uh,
straight away, I just had this mental image. Oh my god, Tony.
I can safely say it was. I mean, I've got a couple more actually,
No,
which
no, I think we've
yeah,
got
which
time.
are
5 minutes or so.
we've got a few moments, so I can share them. Obviously the famous one. Tyre and I actually went to an event in Manchester a couple of years ago, if you remember, where we were actually on site and recorded the show. And
Tony went. I was dragged to an event.
and this was the Rendlesham Forest incident
Oh
in
yeah,
1980. We
but
actually
these are not really pre-flight though, are they?
No, 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 no. But I mean the pre-flight ones are very difficult to come by, but these have got compelling evidence because it left physical evidence behind. This is what's crazy about this one, where for those who are unfamiliar, we covered it in a previous show, but I'll summarize it here. US military personnel at RAF Bentwater in the UK, Rendlesham Forest,
Mm.
witnessed a metallic object in the forest with beams of light and traces of radiation. Now, the radiation readings were captured on a whatever the radiation reading thing is. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. And it was 8 times higher than the background levels available. And at the landing site, there were impressions on the ground, broken tree branches, things had actually come down. And these were even documented by the deputy base commander, who was Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt. And why it's difficult to refute is because multiple trained military witnesses who were part of the MOD as well, were had links to the MOD, sorry, and they also got involved and explained that it was, well, they had to label it as unexplained because something had happened. They couldn't put their finger on what it was because they're not gonna, but they did say something odd happened and something did come down. The people who witnessed it firsthand took up felt the radiation, felt it strange, and measured it on equipment. The craft was metallic. It was warm to the touch, something they'd never seen before, and it took vertical takeoff and landing, which 1980 they it would the flights and the equipment they had back then could probably do it, but would be noisy. This was silent, went up and down, and it was only 2 or 3 meters wide, and it was an unusual craft, all metallic, and several of the personnel witnessed it. It came back over a couple of days as well. So this evidence is like, wow, very difficult to refute. And that's
Geiger
how
counter is
this.
what you're looking for.
Yeah, Geiger counter.
The
Thank you,
Geiger
thank you.
counter. That was difficult to refute because, like I said, of the people who witnessed it. By the way, there were at the same time radar hits in a nearby RAF station. So it wasn't just the people in the forest, but there were, can I call them corroborating?
Yeah, yeah.
Corroborating reports and evidence on radar. But wasn't it one of those things when once the Americans came in, they shut it down and everything, and they
Yes,
made
it
everybody
was.
shut
Yeah,
up?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They
Okay.
closed it down and
What
no
makes
more
you wonder
comment.
why? Anyway, I
It
thought you
makes you
actually
wonder
meant the
whether they
gentleman
know
who.
more than they want and don't want to let us know what's happening.
I don't
There's
know.
many rumors about corroboration with alien entities and high levels of government know about
Would you
it.
really? Would you really, as an alien, though, as an intelligent alien, of all the people on the planet, would you really go with the Americans? I
Well, they're
mean,
not
I love the
picking them
American audience and all that,
specifically.
but
Yeah,
seriously, man, you won. Anyway, I
I
thought you
think
meant
they've
the
got the
gentleman who
funds.
who passed on.
Oh, yes. We interviewed him actually.
We did interview
He
him.
unfortunately he's passed away now, but he was we actually got the privilege to interview him whilst at the event, and he was there at the Rendlesham Forest itself, and he ventured into the area that we've just discussed, and he said it was strange because animals don't go there now,
Hmm.
and it's eerie because you
He
go in
more or
it.
less he more or less implied that it might be damaging his health, and
Yes.
I think I asked him on camera if why he would still go back. I need to take troops in there as well, to
Yeah, he
take other
did. He
people in
took
there
other
as well.
people in. Yeah, yeah, to the area.
So if he over a period of time he had been going in there and whatever was still there was still affecting people, yeah, he really took one for the team.
Hmm. Right, we've got a few minutes left. I have got one final one, which I think is the most credible out of all of them,
Okay.
because this was in a school
Yeah,
in
before
Zimbabwe.
you start, can I share something with you and the audience?
Yeah, very
Have
quickly.
you ever, very quickly, it's completely nothing to do with our topic.
Oh,
Have you ever, you can't see it, never mind.
no.
Have you ever, have you
Water?
ever bought something that you think is fizzy, only
Like
to
what?
open up and it's still water? Do you understand how disappointed I am? I'm really struggling to complete this episode, but we'll march on, Tony. I'm really not a happy camper.
You wanted
That
fizzy water. I have fizzy water in here,
doesn't help me,
strangely.
pal. That doesn't help me at all.
Anyway, this one
Anyway,
here, this one here, I think is the most, it's the interesting and one of all. It's aerial school in Zimbabwe in 1994.
oh wow,
We've talked about this one before, but
yeah, I
it's
didn't bring
so
it up because
powerful.
it's not
I know
pre-flight.
it's not pre, but this is so powerful. It's it's incredible in
I
my
think it's the
opinion.
best. I think it's the best sighting ever.
I think so. Yeah.
Because
60.
have you seen the children on camera?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
Okay.
young. They're not old.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. 62 children, 62 witnessed a silver craft land near their school. And each of them who witnessed it received telepathic messages from somewhere about environmental collapse. And they didn't know where these messages were coming from. It was like someone was talking to them in their head. And investigators went in, found flattened grass, burn marks where the children had said this craft fell, was down. They also recorded electromagnetic interference in the area where the craft was. The children were between the ages of 6 and 12, and they were all asked to independently draw what they saw. And most of the sketches were almost identical of what they saw. I mean, children are unlikely to corroborate in a hoax or
Mm.
lie about something like this. So many saw it, so many drew what they saw, and it all matched. So some craft did come down because there was physical markings in the field, and these electromagnetic interference was also captured there by the authorities. So it's very difficult to discount this. What was it? I mean, we're not saying it's alien, we're not saying it's UFO, but clearly something strange where they all reported telepathic messages in their heads. Little children. I mean, that beggars belief. It's incredible.
Yes, Ruwa, it was called, RUWA, near Harare, which is the capital of Zimbabwe.
Mm.
62 school children, ages 6 to 12, as you said. During morning recess, students claimed a shiny silver disc landed near the schoolyard. Small beings with large eyes emerged, approached them, and seemed to communicate telepathically, sending environmental and or apocalyptic messages. No adults were present, so no authority figure to influence the story. The children were interviewed individually by Harvard psychiatrist Dr. John Mack and South African researcher Cynthia Hind. Their stories remain consistent across all age groups. The children were visibly shaken, but not hysterical, and clearly believed what they had experienced. Decades later, and they still stand by what they saw. There is
Wow.
documentary footage of the interviews. I think this one is. I mean, even skeptics are going to have to accept that.
Yeah, how'd
that
you get around that one?
you don't get
That's
you
just
no. That's
mind-boggling.
we don't know what
Mind-boggling.
they saw, but they saw something. That's for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so quick sum up. Do these historical sightings that we discussed prove UFOs?
Well, they prove UFOs, but they don't prove they're alien. They prove they have unidentified flying objects. But we've always known there are unidentified flying objects. It's not that UFOs need to be proved. Who doesn't accept that there are things in the sky that we can't identify? It's where they come from, what they're doing here. That's where the argument comes in.
Yeah.
So, what is interesting to me is that they've been around for a long time, and that one with I forgot the name of the naturalist who was on board the ship. Not Bollocks, Bloxham, Bloxham. That one. If it turns out that there was no steam or anything, whatever it is, that's not a natural phenomenon.
No, no,
So
not
you
at all.
extrapolate from that, and then you just work with there that we're not looking at natural phenomena. So
No,
what are we exactly looking at?
indeed.
It's really puzzling, to be honest with you.
It is. From being a skeptic like you were, have you been swayed in any way? Because I'm not a skeptic, but you are.
No, I'm not swayed to think that it's intergalactic aircraft, spacecraft or traveling craft, whatever it is. But I think it's further evidence that we are being massively fooled by what we think is the universe. I still have this idea that we're in a virtual reality. And it could be that these craft are just the maintenance crew messing around not messing around, but
Mm,
being caught out, if you like.
yeah,
It could be that. I think there's something wrong with our worldview. That's what I think. I think it proves that our worldview isn't as we
isn't
think it
right.
is.
Yeah,
Something else
interesting.
is going on.
Okay, unfortunately, we must end it there. So, if you've loved this episode, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more deep dives into prophecies, mysteries, and the unexplained twists of fate. You've listened to Tony and Tyre, and we are the TNT Talk Show, but unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.